Hello and welcome to Take It to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me, as always, the star of the show, former WWE World Tag Team Champion, 8-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Champion, and one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire, Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
Couldn't be better today than any other day, John. You've been busy, obviously.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so everybody's been busy. It's good to stay busy these days because some people don't have that opportunity anymore, I guess.
Now, I was just talking to two guys that know you very well, and they said that make sure I ask you on air to get your reaction. But Vic Delicious now has a six pack, abs. I'm talking about not beer. I'm talking about abs. And Hale Collins also wanted to say hello. What do you think
Ah,
about the Now? Your old buddies, great tag
I
team, the Now.
I have not seen them in a while, so now they have a six pack. Where are they working?
So they're going to actually be in New Jersey, ISPW. They're working. They work for NEW up north, but they're also going to be working for the NWA Crockett Cup.
Good for them. Yeah, I like Vic and Hale. They pretty much went out and did their own thing for a while, but I haven't heard from them in a long time. So that sounds really nice. Good for them. So they're having a good time and they're finding some success out there, which is always good to know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll be rooting for them, though, unfortunately. I don't think
Well,
in
by
the
all means,
Crockett Cup.
why would that occur?
Seemed like you and the Heat Seekers got something going on.
Well, I have something going on with a lot of people in this business. Do you mean to tell me that the Heat Seekers and Delicious? Wait, they worked as Delicious. Hold on.
And Hale Collins,
Yeah, but
the
what
Now,
was the tag team name?
the Now.
The Now. Yes, yes, yes. How could I
Yeah,
forget that? It wasn't then. It was now.
yeah.
Well, you know what? I wish all those guys, all four of those guys, the best of luck because they all four deserve to be spotlighted and shined, and more power to them. I'm so glad to hear that Vic has a six pack now. Good deal.
You apparently said he would never get in shape. Apparently,
Well, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but even when I say you'll never, that alone is inspiration. And that
sure.
is all I'm trying to do is inspire because they told Steve Austin he would never get above mid card. So when people say that, you can do one or two things with it. You can go, "Wow, you're right," or "I'll show you," and that's what they did. I love it when people will prove me wrong when I say stuff like that because that's what it's meant to do. That's it. That's the intent. Believe it or not, it truly is.
Hey, he remembered it. All these years later, he remembered it. So you motivated him.
Good. I remember a lot of things said to me that motivated me too, and I'm so glad because when you look at things in that instance, in that moment in time, some people fold and just say, "Wow, I'm going to take my game, take my ball, and go play somewhere else." Other guys say, "I'm going to show that no good, rotten son of a bitch, and I'm going to prove that I can get in shape and prove that I can not only get a six pack, but I'll get a spot and earn a place on a roster somewhere, or just earn some recognition." And we just had that talk tonight at JPWA, and I use one of our students as an example, and he is now just about to. I don't think I can let the horse out of the barn yet, but you'll know you'll know when the news happens what I'm talking about. But somebody came to us, gosh, 2022 it had to be 21 or second class. I think he was in 2019 or 2020 and had the passion, had everything, but he was missing the working out. He was missing the ingredient that he needed, and went in and changed his body completely. And I was telling someone tonight from JPWA that, look, I asked the guy, "Do you really think you're ready for a tryout?" And he looked at me and says, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "No, you don't. You're not ready for a tryout. You aren't ready." And after I had said that to him that night, I said, "I want you to prove me wrong." There's no better satisfaction when somebody comes and says, "You told me I was fat. You told me I would never make it. Look at me now. And it's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Or you can go the other way. But who do you pat on the back? Who do you kick in the ass? And who do you say, oh, it's okay? It's never just okay. You don't want to be satisfied with just okay. So good for them and good for, as soon as I can talk about the other thing we have going on, I will. But right now I don't think I can. So, but I've seen it happen, man. I'm glad for Vic.
I did see the Heat Seekers at JPWA, and they were talking to you. What's going on there? Why is the Heat Seeker showing up to JPWA?
Well, you do know I am both of their sensei. You do know
Yes.
this. Yeah,
Yes.
well, that's why. Because they needed some guidance. Yoda wasn't available. Darth Vader's dead.
Yep.
So they said next best thing would be Sensei Dr. Tom. That's why. Because they know if they want to know not only what they need to work on, what the truth is, they knock on my door and I'll always open. That's why
Are
they
you
were talking to me.
are you doing something with the NWA and the Crockett Cup? Are you doing something with that?
No,
Huh.
I am not. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just people in general who change their bodies, change their appearance, change their attitude, change everything. Nobody's knocking down my door right now, and I'm happy. Trust me, I'm happy for the NWA. Happy for anybody who gets a spot or enjoys themselves during this journey. I really am. So, no, I'm talking about one of our guys. It has a big opportunity. Pardon me. Oh, been a long week for all of us. But no, who have an opportunity to accomplish their dreams and goals, and I'm always happy when that happens. But they knew they needed to make changes. They need to make some real life inroads in the way they looked and the way they carried themselves. And when they told me their goals, I suggested a path and I suggested a recipe. And he followed the path, made the recipe, and it's working.
Think about JPWA. It's like I'm saying the Heat Seeker show up. Undertaker shows up. Obviously, Kane is part owner. He'll show up. Brother Brucey will show up once in a while. I mean, all these guys just seem to pop up in and out. Sheamus. I mean, we always mention these people just popping in. Heath Slater. Remember we did the interview from JPWA? I mean, these guys just
Edge
popping
and
in.
Beth, yeah.
Yeah.
Natalia, Natalie, yeah, yeah. That's so cool because as I was coming up, a lot of people will tell you, I was not the easiest guy to get to know, and at the same time, I wasn't making it so easy to get to know me as much as I wanted to get to know them and maybe give them a fastball, a slow pitch, whatever it needed to accomplish a goal. And so I think it's very cool that they at least even want to still see me, much less talk to me. So I'm happy about that, man. I really am.
Seems like a lot of action going on. I guess you would say at JPWA. Always something going on down there.
Well, I like to make something going on down there, man. We last Friday night in Henderson, Tennessee, there was a Burt Prentice appreciation night, a Burt Prentice dedication memorial, whatever it was. I'm not quite sure what the name was, but KC Gold is a promoter, and he asked if I would be in a 6-man tag match with two guys who trained with us at JPWA, Cobra Singh and Insane Dane, against another fellow who trained with us, Bruiser Bob Mitchell, Mike Mayo, and Doug Gilbert. And I went down there Friday night. He wanted me to wrestle. I said, man, I really don't want to anymore. It's not my place. But I did. And, it's good to see and good to feel how much the guys are enjoying the journey and the process that you have to go through. So we ended it, and it was snowing. That was that winter wonderland coming through, and Henderson is down south of Jackson, Tennessee, and I had to come back up to Knoxville, Tennessee. The storm followed me the whole way, and I got home at 7:30 in the morning. Had to catch a flight at 4:30 that afternoon.
Hmm.
Got in. Flight was actually the flight was delayed. It was a direct flight to Dallas, but it was delayed, and it had people waiting at a restaurant in Dallas, and went straight to the straight to the rental car. Went to the restaurant, and I had no idea Dallas was closing at 10:30 these days. You know, a lot of these restaurants, a lot of these places you think would be open at least until midnight, were closing at 10:30 on a Friday night, and I went, "Wow, this has really changed." But again, that's all part of the journey that I'm liking too. So everybody else got home, I think, at about the same time, or 5, 6 in the morning, and it was a brutal storm. So I'm liking when I meet up with some of the guys who trained with us, and even the guys I've worked with, like Doug Gilbert, for over 30 years. So Lawler was there and had a great time. I mean, I can't remember. Well, yeah, I can. It was just Friday night. I can't remember how much before that. When you go to somewhere and you have a good time, and you understand that it is about the journey now. It's not about where you're going to end up. It's how you're going to end up and why, I think. And we had a retrospective talk tonight, because next week is the last week. Excuse me, for the opening 2022 classes of the JPWA. So there you
So
have it.
you probably missed it Friday night while you're out there wrestling. Your boy Big E ended up breaking his neck and getting injured on SmackDown, taking a bump, suplex to the outside.
I saw the bump. I actually, wow, I think was going to the airport. That happened Friday night, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I going to the airport the next day. My wife showed me the bump, and man, that's what they call it, high risk. A belly to belly is not an easy thing to. That was a belly to belly overhead,
Yeah.
and that's not an easy thing to accomplish, especially when you're doing it to a monster like Big E. So accidents happen. It's part of it's part of the business, and you want to stay as safe as possible. But it's dangerous, and you have to know the safety comes first. And I'm glad Big E is back home now, and seems to be doing much better than he was.
Seems like I guess a better prognosis than initially everybody was saying. Thinking the worst, obviously, and it was better, thank God, than what they were saying. But could have turned out way worse if it was, who knows, an inch here, an inch there.
Well, I think we know that it has turned out worse for other people before, and just thank goodness that Big E wasn't that guy. And you have to. I think everybody has to accept the fact that when you go in a wrestling ring, or you go on a mat, or you go somewhere that you're going to be physical and full contact, if you will, in a controlled atmosphere, things can still happen. So I think everybody accepts that and realizes that when you sign on to be a WWE superstar or a professional wrestler. And I've heard that there's a distinction between the two. I'm not quite sure what that is, but that's what I've heard.
Vince himself has said that there's a big
That guy?
distinction.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember that guy? Yeah.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah. So when that spot happens, not to put blame on anybody, but do you say like, okay, that's Ridge's fault, Big E's fault, or is it just like, guys, don't do that spot on the floor? It's super dangerous. You're not going to be able to nail it 100% of the time. Take that out of the arsenal. Let's stop doing stupid spots on the floor.
Well, yes and no. I think you don't know what's going to happen until it happens, obviously. But at the same time, there are dangerous moves as simple as just taking a guy over in a headlock. The same thing can happen. You jam the guy's neck. You can drive his head in the mat. But the key is knowing how to do it, having enough strength to do it, doing it correctly, and just like you said, a millimeter off, and it could have changed the whole thing. But we chose it. He chose it, and I don't know. I don't know how I would say, guys. It was 1 out of 10,000. Don't ever do that again. I would say work on it, but I wouldn't. It's one of those things you have to have confidence in and feel like you're safe enough to do it in your own way. So
I don't know. To me, I just am getting tired of like the spots on the floor because they seem like they're really hurting the guys. Like they're too dangerous to do it out on the floor and make it look like basically you're making it look good. Yeah, yeah. The guy's really getting hurt. That's why it kind of looks good. You know what I mean? There's no magic to it. You know what I mean? Like do that spot in the ring. Like I remember Humberto Carrillo and Sheamus were doing these crazy spots outside the ring, and Carrillo almost broke his femur bone like in
yeah.
his leg, like they were doing crazy stuff. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, not needed at all.
Well, but then again, I think everybody wants to push themselves to greater lengths, greater heights, and you got to try some stuff. If you really are that strong of a guy, try it. At the same time, once that's the key is once you do it and you screw up, how do you get back on the saddle? And it's catch 22. It's dangerous. You do everything you can to be safe, but it ain't ballet, and I've heard ballet's a lot tougher. But at the same time, it's not. It's supposed to be a physically mandated sport, and you've got to go out there and bust your ass and work hard, make people want to see it and push it to the edge. But certainly don't break anybody's neck or bones or be safe. And that's the key, but it does happen. Things do happen out there. It sucks when it does. We've seen it happen.
I feel like also not to blame Ridge because I like Ridge. I think he's got a good future, but you got to get those hips. You know what I mean? You got to get down, get to the hips. Watch Taz and the Steiner brothers. They get those hips in there, and they're bucking the guy over, and then they get the feet underneath. They have really good balance, and they know what they're doing with the suplexes. It almost seemed like he just grabbed them, and it's like a bad, I don't know, just bad all the way around.
And it very well could have been that. And I don't even know at what point in the match it was at, how much time had gone by. Maybe he was winded, maybe he's blown up. Who knows? But the good thing is Big E didn't break his neck, and the other good thing is they knew right away, and he was in Birmingham, Alabama. So as he said on the video, if you're going to break your neck, you might as well break it in Birmingham because you have all the guys there who know about necks. So yeah, football players the same way. Anything with contact sports, you take that risk, and I think that's what makes a guy like Big E especially so noticeable and a standout in professional wrestling / sports entertainment because he does train hard, works hard, is in condition, and it's one of those things that it happened, and just thank God it wasn't worse.
Very true. So it feels like everybody universally loves Big E, and they want him back to wrestling. I guess it's going to be a few months, hopefully, back to wrestling.
Yeah, man, I'm sorry I'm yawning, but it's just I have not had a lot of sleep these last 5 days or however many days. But other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I guess. I don't know.
Moving on to some sad news, though, and I know you saw this, but unfortunately,
like Big E's wasn't sad.
Well, that is very sad, but we had some good news at the end because he's okay
Yes.
and that he's probably going to wrestle again. So there's some sadness. There's light at the end of the tunnel there. Hall, though, unfortunately, Scott Hall, rest in peace. Mr. Hall passed away Monday night, only 63 years old. Absolute legend in the business. When people say, and I said this a million times, people always go, "Oh, game changer. This guy's a game changer. This guy changed the game." No, Scott Hall legitimately did. So there's very few of those guys, but you put Hall tippy top of that list. NWO Scott Hall changed the game.
No doubt. No doubt. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, X-Pac, all those guys. Uh, love them, hate them, like them, whatever you want to do. You can't deny the facts. You cannot deny the facts that these guys are the reason a lot of people got into wrestling, along with the Stone Colds and the Undertakers and the Mick Foleys and guys like that. But they were. They were the cool guys that went out there and said suck it and, hey, we're flashed in the crowd and did all the cool stuff. And with that, you have to have the confidence and the gravitas, and you got to be real. And that was real. Scott Hall was real. And I've known Scott, gosh, I went to Germany for Ottawans for 3 weeks one time, and or 2 weeks, whatever it was. And Scott came to the ring with me. He was Cowboy Scott in Germany, and I had the chaps and I had the cowboy hat, and I worked with Stephen Wright. Went out to his trailer in the caravan out back of the arena. It was in Bremen, Germany, and had dinner afterwards. So he was that guy. He was the real deal. He had a lot of issues that he accumulated through his journey in this life, but that's, I think, what made him that guy. That was woven in his fabric of not just Razor Ramon, but Scott Hall behind the scenes. From the tragedy to the uncertainty, a lot of times, Scott Hall made a lot of people mad. He didn't care. But, just saying the smart-ass shit he would say, like, hey, cowboy, what's your finish? I can't wait to kick out of it. Or, hey, I read one today where it said, somebody asked, when's intermission? He said, during your match. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but some people could get away with it, and other people just wish they could. And Scott was the one who could get away with it because he wasn't afraid, and he did it, and he was that guy. He was that guy. No matter what anybody says, Scott Hall was Razor Ramon and vice versa. Once he found Razor, though, I think that was the one image everybody thinks of now. You can't say Scott Hall without thinking, hey, yo, and the toothpick and things like that. But you're right. He was a game changer. He was a guy that found something original and knew how to work it, knew how to use it, knew how to build on it. So, yeah, that was Scott. But I got to thinking, too. This is crazy, but, we have some time. When I first heard, I thought, wow, he didn't have one heart attack. He didn't have two. He had three. I had a friend many, many years ago that I was very close to, and then we drifted apart, but still when I heard the news, it was even more, God, what happened? Kind of thought. But he was at home in Houston, felt like something was wrong, called his brother to take him to the ER, and as soon as he got to the ER, he was sweating, and they recognized some other signs of having a heart attack, and they wheeled him right into surgery, and they had to cut his chest open, I think, and the breastplate, whatever it was they had to do. It's a pretty major deal. And they were sewing him back up as he's on the table getting ready to be wheeled back to recovery. He has another heart attack and dies on the table. And I looked back, and here was a guy who, nice guy, but his attitude was always negative and wasn't allowing himself to enjoy life. And I don't know if that played a part, but I've talked to many people and say, yeah, that did play a part. Your attitude is everything. But Scott Hall was going in for a hip replacement, right?
Yeah.
And then once he did, then there were complications. And my gosh, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And then you think, Why? It makes no sense. So we're all going to go. We're all going to pass away. And so
Very sad
I
on Hall, though.
yeah, I was actually like I said, coming back from a funeral, my brother's funeral Monday, and when I heard that, I went, it makes perfect sense, but it makes no sense at all. Why can't you just die peacefully and not have to go through the trauma of it all? But who knows what they were feeling at the time? I mean, who really? I mean, was it painless, painful? Who knows? But I just know that we're all going to exit one way or another, and I'm hoping mine's in my sleep. So
Painless, yes. Hopefully,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So Hall was only 63 years old, but two-time WWE Hall of Famer, which is great, and I'm very glad. Like Vader, for instance, is in the Hall of Fame. I wish they would have did it when he was alive. I was very, very happy that Hall got in when he was alive because I think he deserved that honor, deserved to be out there. But it's interesting. I was talking to my buddy Oliver Bateman, who does all the obituaries for The Ringer. He's like the obit guy. Like anybody
mm,
wants to know like story and stuff, he dug deeper on Hall. And when Hall was younger and working the nightclub scene, he literally killed the guy point blank, shot him with a gun, killed the guy, shot him
yeah,
right in the head. But the guy he killed murdered somebody the week before, and he was like a serial, I guess, criminal, so to speak, who was literally going to kill Hall. So it was either
right.
him or the guy, and the guy's done it before, so the guy has no remorse. So it's one of the things that he carried around with him in baggage, and Bret Hart mentioned it recently too. He said he always had that carrying around with him. But it's one of the things where I wish Hall would have been like, man, it was either him or you. You're lucky, it was you that survived.
Well, I think we all have some doors we'd rather remain shut in
Yeah.
our lives. I certainly understand that. And especially a guy who led such a colorful life and such a full life isn't going to feel the same way as the people who are observing all his mannerisms and his accomplishments. He's going to look at and he's going to feel that vibe on him the whole time because you can't. I don't know how you could ever not think about that. I don't. There's there's things I think about every day. I think we all have that psyche, and some people handle it better than others. But you're right, man. Scott had a storied life. He really did, and no matter how it happened, and it put an imprint not only in his soul but other people's soul he came in contact with because he acted however he acted, not just because that's the way it was, but it's because that's what followed him around. And I don't know how I would react either. I really don't. And but Scott was successful. I don't know if he ever. I don't know. I really don't know. It made me think because it was all around this weekend from Big E getting hurt, Scott dying, and then going to a funeral. They played "Hey Jude" on the bagpipes, and then they played something else at the end. And I'm going, everybody's going to face this. We're not getting out alive. We're really not. So I got to a point, and Scott was a year older than me, but I got to a point where I'm not going to loathe over it as much anymore. There are times and days that are better than others, and I'm sure Scott felt this way too. But when people look at escape and they say, oh, you're going to drink or take pills or do whatever you want to do to escape, I think I came to the realization this is insane and crazy too. That's why they were put here on Earth, is because some people need that remedy and that recipe to escape. And if you do it until you pass out, a lot of people say, "Oh, you're bad," and you shouldn't do that. And there's better ways to live your life and straighten up. Well, you can't judge anybody until you walk, I don't know, few blocks in their shoes. You don't even have to walk a mile. Just put them on, see how they feel. Are they good and worn, or are they comfortable, or are you okay wearing them? That's kind of how I look at all that stuff, man. Scott was who he was, and he had that sinister sarcasm, and could be funny as hell, and he liked to poke. He loved to poke at people. So, and I can appreciate that. I really can. So, sad. Yeah, it was a sad time so far. We're only on Wednesday when we're recording this, but it does stop and make you think. Let me say this. It stops and make me think. When I'm 62, man. It could happen. It happened to Animal at 61. Happened to Hawk at 40-something. So, happened to a lot of guys young. And 63 is young. Then you have to wonder, here's where I just go down the rabbit hole. Why hadn't this guy died yet? I mean, why hadn't that guy died yet? And why is this still going on? So, just the unanswered questions that will never be answered still exist and always will, I think.
So really, the big topic of today, as we say, rest in peace to Mr. Scott Hall, the absolute legend. Wanted to talk about arguably your third favorite tag team of all time, which is crazy because this guy listens to the show and we should automatically just assume that they're your favorite tag team, but you won't go in that direction. I want to talk about the fabulous Freebirds. So I know obviously
stop.
Whoa.
My third favorite tag team of all time?
Yeah, first was Midnight Express, second was Bushwhackers, no?
Okay. I'll bite. Go ahead. Yeah.
Just judging from prior conversations, it seemed like that,
you know
that's
what?
where
You're a horrible judge, but I'll work with you. Go ahead.
Well, it's got to be Midnight Express, no?
Oh, Midnight. Well, of course.
Heavenly Bodies love the Midnight.
Yeah, for Christ's sake. Yes, the Heavenly Bodies were certainly one of those teams. But go ahead. Yes.
Speaking just real quick about Heavenly Bodies before I forget, your boys, they use a lot of the Heavenly Body moves. They said they literally use a lot of the Heavenly Body tag team moves.
Well, we use a lot of the Midnight Express tag team moves because of the manager. So it kind of overlaps, and you can't pin all that on us, and we can't get credit for all that at all. It was a genius and a maniac, all wrapped in one. In my good close personal friend, who I have nothing but love and admiration and respect for, James E. So now we're stealing the Midnight Express moves, which the Heavenly Bodies and many other teams this day and age are also stealing. So larceny is alive and well.
Bobby Eaton was a god, so he was.
Bobby Eaton was incredible. No kidding, man. Bobby Eaton, he floated like a butterfly, stung like a bee. That's no kidding.
It was awesome. So with the Freebirds, though, one of the greatest tag teams of all time, maybe not in your view, but in my view, they were. I was looking up. I want to see, when did you first meet them, or when did you? So it was basically late 70s. Is that right?
It was my first time going to Louisiana, doing TV for Bill Watts. That was the night. I have told you about the Highway to Hell coming on when the guy went over the edge, right?
Yes.
Okay, it was that
kind of
trip
prophetic there. And then I mentioned Michael P.S. Hayes at SummerSlam '98, Highway to Hell. He sung it awesomely, by the way. Before the show, he sung Highway to Hell. Great
sure he did.
Tune,
yeah, he sings everything awesome. And I tell him that every time I do. He sung at my wedding. He did, man. I had... There's another story, too, but Bad Street USA, we played it at my wedding, and Michael drank all the champagne and sang. I love it. Oh, Michael was great, man.
Awesome.
He drove. Our flight got canceled when we hit Charlotte. There were no flights going out. We were in Charlotte for Raw that night. Next morning, we had to fly out, and all the flights were canceled, so Michael didn't hesitate a second. He says, let's go get a car. Rented a car. We drove across the mountains from Charlotte to Knoxville. And so I got a great affection for Michael Hayes. But I met Michael that first TV taping in Louisiana, and I actually worked with him and Terry where they gave me the backdrop into the pile driver. They were both really, really cool. I thought they were both much older. I'm sitting there in the locker room or in the dressing area of the TV studio, and they're cutting pre-tapes, and Michael is just rapping on, and just seamless. And I thought he was fantastic. He had to be at least in his mid-20s, but he was 20 years old then, man. So, and again, at 20 years old, headlining the Superdome against Junkyard Dog. Think about that. 20 years old, looking the way they looked, talking the way they talked. That was cockiness, brashness, confidence, all wrapped into one. And both of them knew how to get heat. They just looked like somebody. They looked like a rock and roll band, just the two of them. They could have played it all, done it all. And when I got to know them a little bit better and saw the crazy side, Michael would do things like in the dressing room, he'd spit on the wall, they'd all dipped, he'd spit on the wall, then he'd lick it off. Or they'd spit in each other's mouths. And they were doing it for shock effect. I mean, just doing it just to get the reaction from the boys. And, they were committed to it, so more power to them. Those kind of cartoons don't exist in the business anymore. And, man, I truly believe that's an element that's missing. You don't have a Freebirds, Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, and later Buddy Roberts. But I first met them, 1979. So
Interestingly enough, I don't know if you'll remember this. So it's the Freebirds, Hayes and Gordy, 1979, November of 79, versus yourself and King Cobra. You were known as Tom Price at that point.
Yes. And Paul Bosch said you might want to change your name because if you start out this way, sometimes people remember it. And I've had a couple people actually through the years. I specifically thought that would be forgotten because it was very forgettable. And a couple of people have Facebooked me saying they remember seeing me and asked if I was Tom Price. And I thought, well, yeah, okay, I was. That's like from November to December. I flew out in January to go to Los Angeles. So, yeah, I was.
Tom
ain't
Price.
No more.
Yeah, Tom Price. Interesting, yeah.
Well, because it goes like Pric.
Yep.
And you just put an E on it. So that way it's easy to remember. And, you kind of start with the first name and end it right there before you get any other clues. Before you get another piece of the jigsaw puzzle and put it right there, then you finally win.
Did the Freebirds help put you on the map though? You're working with them.
No, but they did help me. They were always cool wherever, because I went. The next time I saw them was in Georgia, and they were just always really cool. I mean, it was, and I made a few trips with them, and I'd made a few trips with Michael later on in my career too, but. They just, it was a new generation, kind of like when WWE's generation happened too. But at this time too, it was just a lot of young guys were getting in, and some got burnt out real quick, and others just continued on. But I always admired the Freebirds, both Michael and Terry, because they were so actually great. They weren't just good; they were great, in my opinion. And when we'd go out, or even in the back, they just were those guys 24/7. I mean, Michael spitting on the wall. We went to a bar one time, and Michael can't help himself. And probably can a little better these days, although I'm not so sure. But Michael and Terry and me went in the bar. We sat at a table, and there was a hanging light, and Michael looks at the light and headbutts it. The manager came over immediately, said, out now. So it was like a movie. I mean, Michael will tell you these fantastic stories, and you'll say, that couldn't have happened. but it did. And I went over to his house one time in Atlanta. I was on my way to Conyers, Georgia for a convention fiasco, and I stopped at his house. He wanted me to see his house. And it's a tri-level house. And it's way bigger than anything he needs. But it was tricked out with what you would think it would be tricked out with. You go into he has a beautiful game room, dark place, and has Jimmy Jam, Terry Bam Bam, Michael P.S., on the wall. It was exactly what I thought Michael's house would be. The bottom floor of his house was like a mother-in-law's house. It just duplicated. I think he had 4 or 5 bedrooms on the second level, and then on the bottom level it just mimicked that. So he had 10 bedrooms, and then on the top level, was all his like the game room and some other rooms that weren't bedrooms, but they were spaces in the house that you could gather if need be. And it's at the end of a road outside of Atlanta, and you really got to know where you're going to get to this place. And once you get there, it's beautiful. He's got a pool in front. It's away from the neighbors, and I thought, this is actually how I see Michael living. He's not going to be there, but maybe 1 or 2 days a week. At that time, he was really working hard and working a lot. But it fit him. I mean, it really did, man. It was it was a little indulgent, but he could do it. He made the money. That's what he had to show for it, and it made sense. It just, if you told me Michael Hayes lived anywhere else, it wouldn't fit. Michael loves his dogs. He has a bench in front of his house. I don't know if Michael's going to care or not. There's nobody going to hear and tell him anyway. But he buried his other little dog that I knew. I can't think of the name now, but out in front of his house, and the Rainbow Bridge poem on the bench. Where you could sit and you could hear his dog. He had another dog at this time. It was a cartoon come to life, and I love that stuff. So,
wow, very cool. I can't believe the extravagance of Michael P.S. Hayes. Who would have known the extravagance?
Yeah, who would have known, right?
Right?
Yeah, not Michael. Doesn't sound like Michael.
When he's inviting you to the house, he's just showing off, right? I mean, he wants.
I don't care. I'm glad he was showing off because I love it. I love it, man. Just showing off because that's why I even told the story, because I think he would appreciate it, and he would know when I'm telling it, how I'm telling it, why I'm telling it. There was I won't mention this guy's name, but and I wasn't there, but this is what I heard. So he had a birthday party for this fella, a very high up executive, and had the ice, a big block of ice that was carved into WWE. And he had I don't know about but he had a lot of liquor and a lot of, let's see, he had a lot of good feelings going around that night. And they had a great time, and they pulled a rib. I can't, as I think about the rib, I can't say anything about that either right now. But it was a lot of fun from these guys' deal. And then when I finally saw the house, I said, yeah, I get that. I can see how this could come into play. So
I love it.
I love it.
Go back though to '79. Do you remember teaming up with Charlie Cook and going after the tag titles against the Freebirds? Do you remember that at all or no?
I don't think we went with the tag titles, did we? No, I think it just had it was King Cobra.
But you had a couple matches according to the internet. Mark Totten was a tag partner. Charlie Cook was a tag partner.
Well,
I know on in 1979.
Yeah, but I know the internet never lies. So
that's true. That is true. I did once say you wrestled Dynamite Kid, and you never did. So
never did. Yeah.
But you did team with Charlie Cook though against.
Well, it's possible. See, I remember King Cobra, and I remember Sugar Bear Harris, and I remember some of the guys who I saw later on. And then I'm going, hold on. Oh, and I'm going, man, totally unrecognizable. And then I remembered, and they reminded me too when I introduced myself. Yeah, I remember you when you were Louisiana. You were just a punk. So I'm still a punk, but so yeah, man. I don't think we went for any. I don't think I went for any tag titles during that first few times in the old Mid South area or arena, however you want to say it.
What did you think about that run though in Mid South in that area and obviously the Freebirds are on top, but what did you think about your run there?
It wasn't really a run. It was just getting TV matches, and they would let me go. They would put like that day, Buck Robley. I had three or four TV matches, and one was against Ernie, or one was either. I think I teamed with Ernie Ladd in one of those, maybe. And I worked with Dog too, Junkyard Dog, where he put me in the wheelbarrow and put like a transmission on top of me and then wheeled me out to a hallway. And I stayed there for like 10 minutes because I didn't know what to do. We were off the camera. I was out of the way of everybody. And finally I said, how am I going to get this damn motor off me? Or whatever it was. It might not have been a motor. That would have killed me. But it was pretty damn heavy. And finally, I just got up. I think I sat down as best I could in the wheelbarrow forward, moved the motor off me, and found my way back to the dressing area. And that was all I did really in Louisiana was a few TVs in the first time. Then I went out to get experience and wound up in L.A. Gary Hart's the one that directed me to L.A. before I went to Portland. Never made it to Portland until 5 years later. So I think if I would have just done my 2 weeks in L.A. and then gone to Portland, everything would have been a lot different. But it didn't, so it wasn't.
Now, did you wrestle for the Freebirds anywhere else? Because I couldn't find anywhere else really, but Mid South. I know you guys were in
Oh,
Georgia together, but did you wrestle anywhere else?
I think I want to say it might have been the time, and I don't remember who when Jimmy talks about the time Michael hit him on top of the head and knocked his tooth out. I think that might have been a match I was involved in too when we were in WWE, but it was down in Memphis, and that's when all that thing was happening. It could have been, but yeah, it's been a long few years, so I really don't remember specifics all the time.
Now, the Fabulous Freebirds obviously would become supremely famous. They've got the Confederate flags, and it's so funny. Somebody messaged because I said I love the Freebirds and I like their look and the Confederate flags. I didn't mind it. Not I was supporting the Confederacy.
Right,
Some
right.
guy. Oh God, this guy. Anyway, but he messaged me. He's like, oh, whatever. I was like, that's not true. But I do love the look of the Fabulous Freebirds, and I did love the Freebirds and Michael Hayes. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I guess looking back, it's a timepiece. It back then, no one batted an eye in it. I mean, no one is talking the way they do in 2022 back in the 80s anyway. I mean, it's a completely different world. But I just thought it was like, okay, it was a cool look. It fit them. It made sense. It just went with the package that they had that look with the flags.
It did, and especially for that time frame when the Von Erichs were the same age, coming up, and it fit. It was perfect. What's it called? Synchronicity. It was just perfect with the uh, 6-man matches, a one-on-one. It I do talk about that a lot, how the world has changed, and I don't know if it's for the better, especially in wrestling. But you can't have barbarians, and you can't have all these horrible villains and heels, and think about now if we had the Von Brauners and Saul Weingroff. I mean, 20 years after World War II, we had it and it was real. It was heat, but I don't know if you can get away with these days. The cancel
Waldo Von
culture.
Erich.
Well, Waldo Von, oh man, I told somebody that promo the other day. It was somewhere in Ohio. I think he cut the promo, which I won't say here,
Yeah.
but and almost got him kicked off the air. Almost lost their TV. So, at the same time, it was authentic. Was it crass and maybe even low class? Well, yeah, but that's what that's what wrestling was back then. Crass
Right.
and very low class. And it I always loved and romanticized the arenas. I love the name, the Sportatorium. I love the names, the Bakersfield Jules Strongbow Arena, the Eddie Graham Sportatorium, things like that, because it was that kind of business. These old cauliflower eared guys coming in there doing these insane crazy things that they didn't go to jail for. They do it right there on TV. Attack somebody with a loaded boot or throw fire at them. You're maiming somebody. And I think that's against the law. And they'd get away with it. And as a kid growing up, I'm thinking, how cool is that? These guys can dress up however they want to dress. They can have any persona they wanted and go out, and you would have a crowd of people eating out of the palm of their hands. And in Dallas, going back to the Freebirds, in Dallas, I'd wrestled in that Sportatorium when I started out, and now I'm watching the crowds, and I'm watching the ambiance, feeling the ambiance through the TV. You're right. When the Birds came out in their, Michael with his robe and the big flag, and then Terry with his jacket and the cowboy hat, and Buddy with his jacket, and just me and Buddy. My God, it was magic. It was the theatrics and everything. The Freebirds or everything most of the guys did back then, the main eventers anyway, they had something. And I think when we got off on politically correctness or political correctness, and we all had to look at the world in a different view. And I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think anybody is watching this right now thinking about being politically correct. And the guys working today, again, we didn't have cell phones. We couldn't call each other back and forth. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have the instant communication you have now. We didn't have the video games. We had Pong. We like a ping pong back and forth, and that was exciting. But it wasn't there, so you had to actually go somewhere to be entertained. And man, for that time period, and if you grew up on wrestling, and I grew up on Texas wrestling, and the Funk family, and those kind of guys, and the Valentines and the Wahoos of the world, I was so lucky, man. I look back on that all the time, just realizing how lucky I was. I found out pretty quick we were getting the cream of the crop in the business, not just in Texas, but they were coming from, all over. Paul Bosch used to book his own main event and then just fill out the rest of the card with a Dallas booking office or San Antonio booking office. But Michael was a fan from day one. Terry Gordy was a fan from day one. So they knew what it was like to be fans and knew how to feel excited when they not only saw something, but when they got their chance to do it, they customized it, personalized it, and stamped it, and went out and did it, and the people fell for it and supported it, and knew when you looked at Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy, these weren't your boys next door. These were some bad boys, and you don't want them coming around there and see your wife or your daughter. Them long-haired hippie people, I think they took marijuana pills back then too. That Michael B.S. Haynes and Terry Gordon. I don't sure about that Buddy Rogers fella. I heard he was a good wrestler before this, but and it was that kind of stuff because you get the names wrong, but there was no denying when they stepped in the ring. So that daggum Michael B.S. Haynes, I'm gonna whoop his ass. So anyway. I miss those days, man. I really, I say I romanticize, ostracize, whatever, for those days. I really do.
1995, Terry Gordy and the Heavenly Bodies defeat Brad Armstrong, Dirty White Boy, and Tracy Smothers. Interesting for Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So you did wrestle once with Terry Gordy after that, but that's the last time.
Well, yeah, and I worked a singles match with Terry, and the finish we talked about was going to be a belly to back. I'll never forget this because I got out there, and I remember going behind going behind Terry, and then I realized I could barely get my arms around him, and I thought, ooh, and I don't want to break Terry Gordy's neck.
Right.
So, I put my head to the side and I kind of gently rolled back because I thought I can't get my hands locked. I can't get my hands around his waist from behind. And then a belly to back suplex, you got to arch and you got to bridge
Yeah.
them. I got a bridge on my neck, and I didn't feel safe, didn't feel good doing it, so I didn't do it. And Terry came back and said, "So what happened to the finish?" I said, "Terry, I didn't feel it, man, and I didn't want to hurt you, and I didn't want to get hurt." I said, "All right, good deal." That was it. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't break my neck. Well, me too. That wouldn't
Yeah.
have been fun. Yeah, where are we going tonight? That kind of shit. So.
Yep. Yep. So, what's the legacy of the Freebirds? I know the Von Erich feud is easily one of the greatest feuds of all time. They are legends. They're great tag teams. What's the legacy of the Freebirds?
I said this many times. If any young upcoming wrestler or wrestlers do not know who the Freebirds or the Von Erichs are, they need to. They need to be studied, and they are one of the most original and greatest tag team and six-man tag team. I think their legacy as certainly I can't rank anybody. I'm not going to say they're number one, number two, number three, but they're certainly in there as the top tag teams. And they had the size, they had the attitude, they had everything. They looked special. They were special. And if you delve into Michael's background, you can hear what formed him, molded him growing up. And not everybody had such a great life growing up. I mean, and you turn that either into woe is me or you create a legacy out of it. And that's what I think both Terry and Michael did. And I know Buddy Roberts was in the business before these guys as Hollywood Blondes, and he was a success before. And Bill Watts, who I really do believe is a genius, was a genius, still is. I think putting Buddy with the Birds was brilliant. So Michael could be on the outside, or Michael could talk. Terry and Buddy could be the workhorse, and you can beat Buddy if need be. So I think their legacy should stand as one of the at least one of the greatest and most entertaining tag teams in the business.
Let's head towards the plugs and talk about your book, A Pro Wrestling Curriculum Advice, Suggestions, and Stories to help the aspiring pro get to the next level. Next time, we're going to get this great book.
You can go to jpwrestlingacademy.com, and it is on the front page. Just scroll down and click it, and it will give you all the information that you can order that wonderful book from.
So I was talking to Big Connor from the Ascension. He mentioned you gave him one of these books, and it's like a godsend to him, and he's a trainer now down at the Wrestle Lab in Florida. So, man,
Good for him.
How many guys are you going to put under your wing and help out these days? Jeez.
Anybody who wants to come, the shelter is here.
Rick
I'll guard you from wind, snow, hurricanes, tornadoes, thunderstorms. I'm here for you.
Rick Victor loves you. And list goes on, all these guys.
Well, that's nice. It's nice to be loved rather than condemned for what I've done because of my love. I don't know, man. Yeah, sure.
Also want to mention Pro Wrestling Tees, ProWrestlingTees.com. Go to the JPWA store or go to the Dr. Tom store. I saw somebody, damn it, I can't remember now who it was, but they were wearing a Wanted Dead or Alive shirt. They said it was in tribute.
JR. God, don't see now. I just went blank. But JR.
Great shirt.
Yeah. I know JR. Not JR Benson, but God dang, he was in our class not too long ago. But yeah, he's always told me that he got a shirt, used to work in class, and I saw the message tweet too. He sent it. Somebody tagged me in it.
Yeah. Good Good shirt, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, you go to jpwrestlingacademy.com. We talked about your book. You could also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Two Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. And, of course, follow Dr. Tom on Twitter at Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, what else do you got going on?
I got way too much going on, man, but I'm really tired, and I don't think I can list it all because it starts at A and ends in Z. How about
Oh,
that?
my God.
I don't know. I don't know
Oh,
where
my
that
God.
came from either. So there you go. But no. I really don't I'd have to look. We got a graduation coming up. We'll be in Sweetwater, Tennessee this weekend, and for JCP, which is Joe Kazana Productions
Oh,
Promotions,
nice.
and Joe Kazana is the grandson of John Kazana, who ran Knoxville, Tennessee wrestling for years and years at Chilhowie Park. So I'm trying to branch out again and just see what's out there in East Tennessee.
Nice. Very cool, Dr. Tom. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. See you right back here next week for a little Taking to School with Dr. Tom Pritchard. We'll see you next week, folks.